Trump says US will charge tariffs of about 100% on some semiconductor imports. You would expect with news like this that a lot of semiconductor stocks would be dropping, but that's not necessarily the case, and I'll try to explain why in today's episode. We also have Apple making massive investments in the United States for an American manufacturing program that has created a lot of bullish sentiments for certain semiconductor players. Some are up over 5-6% after hours thanks to Apple. Let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so first, let's just kind of start off with this 100% tariffs on chips unless companies are building in the United States. So right now, there are reports that the United States will impose a tariff of about 100% on semiconductor chip imported from countries not producing in America or planning to do so. President Donald Trump said. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office on Wednesday that the new tariff rate would apply to all chips and semiconductors coming into the United States, but would not apply to companies that had made a commitment to manufacture in the United States. So first, I kind of wanted to just look at some of our popular stocks, right? We do have NVIDIA up about 0.6%. And some might be wondering, Jose, how is this possible? Up 0.6% if you're kind of increasing this tariffs. Well, one thing, NVIDIA has been one of those players that has said that through their partnerships, they're going to invest about $500 billion in the United States. The market is seeing that as a bullish sentiment. We also see Micron Technology, ticker MU, up about 4%. I do believe Micron has a little bit more to benefit here for one reason. Micron is one of the only semiconductor manufacturing memory companies to build here in the United States. Samsung is kind of building a plant, but Micron has a lot of manufacturing facilities here in the United States where its biggest competitors, SK Hynix and Samsung, are in South Korea. So I think the market is a little bit more excited for Micron Technology because it kind of creates some pressure on its competitors, and it gives a kind of a nice upper hand here on Micron for being a semiconductor player. We also have Marvell, right? Another company that we follow here is up about 0.5% after hours. Not too much. It's pretty much flat. Nothing crazy. We have Intel. Intel, I actually expected this to be up a little bit more, about 0.7%. Obviously, Intel has been focusing in manufacturing here in the United States with their plans, but even without this, it seems like the market is not giving them the benefit of the doubt of getting many manufacturing customers anytime soon. So I thought it was pretty interesting. I would have expected this to be up a little bit higher. Now, once that did shock me a little bit, we did see AMD up about 1% after hours. And we also see Qualcomm, which is another big player in kind of the consumer space, only down about 0.3%, so nothing too scary. First, let's kind of go back to Advanced Micro Devices. Why do I believe the stock is up after hours? First, we did see that Kathy Woods and the overall ARC team did recently purge a lot of AMD stocks today. So that could be one of the bullish sentiments out there. The other thing, in my opinion, is AMD doesn't manufacture its own chips, right? Most of its manufacturing is done from the partnerships of TSMC. And what do we hear? That these tariffs won't be applied if the companies have made commitments to manufacture in the United States. We know that TSMC has a massive investment in the United States. Let me just pull this up really quick. So if here TSMC expands investments in the United States to $165 billion. If AMD gets its chips made by TSMC, and TSMC is already investing dramatically in the United States, doesn't that mean that they really won't get any tariffs? AMD hasn't really talked much about investing in the United States, but one thing that they can say is, look, we are actually one of the first customers to be paying TSMC to build those chips here in the United States. One of the first customers of the Arizona plants was AMD. So I wonder if AMD can use that as a showcase to the current administration that, look, we are willing to pay and buy chips here in the United States. We just don't have the capacity to do so, but we are already doing our part. So I want, and Qualcomm is another one, right? Qualcomm, all these companies are actually already purchasing orders of chips in the Arizona plant, but there's just not enough from that plant. What else can they do? They can't manufacture. So I think for a lot of these semiconductor companies, it's pretty much weird, but I don't think there's going to be much impact, especially if they can go back to the Trump administration and say, look, we are already big customers of the Arizona plant. And once they kind of get bigger and bigger, we're going to make sure those plants keep on running because we're going to keep giving business to TSMC and making sure those facilities keep on running and staying here in the United States soil. That's why I believe a lot of these companies aren't going to be impacted too much. The other thing that I find pretty interesting is, right, usually semiconductors are never the end good to get tariffs, right? These semiconductor products actually end up going to like a finished good, like a laptop and a PC and all that. So with the tariffs, it's going to be pretty weird to see how that gets tariffs. Does it get tariffs for the semiconductors inside the component? Does it just get tariffed for the finished good, which is typically the case there? So there's still a lot of uncertainties, but based from what we see, TSMC manufactures a lot of the chips already, and TSMC is most likely going to be exempt from these exemptions as they are investing a lot in the United States. So at the moment, from what we see, I really wouldn't see this as a bearish case for any of the top US semiconductor companies, because one, most of them have made investments of the United States, or two, they have made investments of being a customer of TSMC in Arizona, and that can pretty much showcase that, look, we want to build that. A lot of these also companies have built kind of like research and developments and still have a lot of engineering here on US soil. So at the moment, nothing to worry about. Now, the next thing I want to do is take a closer look at Apple. Now, before we go any further, if you haven't, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. This is going to be the best place you're going to get any semiconductor news up to date and completely free. Also, check out my free newsletter. Let's pull that up really quick. WhatTheChipHappened.com. I will be releasing a new newsletter later today. And if you're looking for amazing charts, make sure to check out my special offer at fiscal.ai/Jose. I have an NVIDIA episode coming out either tomorrow or Friday that you're not going to want to miss. And it's obviously all thankful for this platform that has a lot of great data that's extremely well priced. All right, so now let's go up to Apple. So Apple mentioned that they increased their US commitment to $600 billion and announces American manufacturing program. So first, some of you might be wondering, Jose, isn't Apple already a big investor of TSM? Wouldn't they kind of, if you talked about it with AMD, shouldn't Apple also get those tariffs excluded? I think yes for the semiconductor part, right? But Apple is the end builder of devices too, right? So their end product is the iPhone. They sell the iPhone. So if the iPhone was still being built or good parts were manufactured, other parts, that iPhone product would still be tariffed. And I think that's what Apple was really worried about. Let's say there was a case where there was an Apple chip company and an Apple phone company. I think if the Apple chip company had built and is building here from TSMC, that portion would have not been tariffed. But the final phone business would have, and hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So Apple today announced a new $100 billion commitment to America, a significant acceleration of its U.S. investments that now total $600 billion over the next 4 years. This includes new and expanded work with 10 companies across America. They produce components that are used in Apple products sold all over the world. And we are grateful to the president for his support. And right, we can see a lot of these companies are actually going to be semiconductor-based companies. So some not. Apple is working with its suppliers to accelerate manufacturing in the United States. This is pretty much kind of similar with what NVIDIA did, right? They're working with their partners. Most of them don't manufacture stuff, but their partners do. So they're going to work with their partners in helping make sure that they're investing here in the United States. They give a good list: Corning, Coherent, Global Wafers America, Applied Materials, Texas Instrument, Samsung, Global Foundries, Amcor, and Broadcom. And this American manufacturing program will help fund a major expansion of Apple's long-standing partnerships with Corning and with other players. Corning, for example, the expansion, this is the world's largest and most advanced smartphone glass production line to a factory. So the expansion means that soon every iPhone and Apple Watch sold around the world will be built with Kentucky-made cover glass. That's wild. It's crazy, right? That's all it took. But I mean, I guess Apple is such a big company that something like this can open up hundreds and hundreds of jobs and thousands of jobs. In July, Apple also committed to buying American-made rare earth magnets developed by MP Materials. So we can see, obviously, Apple, while they don't manufacture, they're trying to make sure a lot of the solutions and a lot of the inventory that they need is kind of somehow produced by the United States. And they can go back to the current administration and say, look, we can't manufacture our phones here, but we can do the following. We can be a big purchaser of TSMC. We can be a big purchaser of this US-based glass company, and all our glasses for our iPhones and Apple Watch will come from here. We are going to be buying a lot of rare earth magnets from here in a United States-based company. All right, so next Apple wanted to kind of talk about their partnership with the US silicon supply chain. The US silicon chip supply chain is on track to produce more than 19 billion chips for Apple products in 2025. That includes TSMC in Arizona, which is producing tens of millions of chips for Apple using one of the most advanced process technologies in America. Apple is this factory's first and largest customer. I also want to see how TSMC is reacting right now. I'm going to guess it's either flat or a little bit up. So after hours, the stock is up roughly 2.6%. So we can see TSMC is going to most likely bypass this as they are investing nearly $200 billion in the United States. They also mentioned Global Wafers America in Sherman, Texas to produce advanced wafers for use-based semiconductor fabs for the first time. So Apple is partnering with them. This I didn't see if it was a public company. I didn't see much, but then Apple is also partnering directly with Applied Materials to boost the production of semiconductor manufacturing equipment in the United States. The Applied site in Austin, Texas is a pivotal hub for manufacturing cutting-edge chip equipment. And let's take a closer look at Applied Digital. I think last time I saw Applied Digital, there wasn't much movement. Sorry, that is not Applied. I'm looking for Applied Materials, AMAT. So Applied Materials is actually up about 1.89% with this partnership. But let me see kind of some of the other players. ASML up about 0.5%. Let's look at Lam Research. It does seem like the overall market is a little bit exciting, even though Lam Research is only up about 0.19%. Let's kind of look at CLAC. CLAC is down. But overall, you would have thought with this 100% tariffs that the semiconductor industry was going to be falling, but it's not. Like I mentioned, a lot of those companies were already working here in the United States. Apple is also working with Samsung at its fab in Austin, Texas to launch an innovative new technology for making chips, which has never been used before anywhere in the world. Samsung might actually be seen as bullish with this. It seems like Apple is trying to work with them. They also mentioned Apple is making new commitments with Texas Instruments, which will support additional tool installation at its facility in Utah and make a new facility in Sherman, Texas. Now, Texas Instrument is actually up about 2.2% after hours. So Apple is creating actually this very, very bullish sentiment with the stock. I mean, and also Apple itself, right? Already $1 trillion company was up about 5% today. And after hours, the stock is up another 2.8%. So this is just kind of creating a nice wave for it. It's creating a wave, but then it's making all these other players ride the wave as well. Some other companies that Apple worked with is Global Foundries, right? Global Foundries and Apple have also entered an agreement to bring more semiconductor manufacturing to the United States, focused on manufacturing cutting-edge wireless technologies. And if we look at Global Foundries is up nearly 8% after hours. So it's crazy. Again, I keep saying, and the final one is Amkor. Amkor here, packaging is the final critical step in manufacturing silicon chips. Apple is investing in Amkor's new advanced chip packaging and test facility in Arizona and will be its first and largest customer as well. Some other companies, we're going to look at Amcor, but we can see MP Materials, the rare earth metal company, is up about 7% today. Let's look at Amcor stock. Amcor stock, I'm going to guess, is also up about 2.7%. We also have Corning here, ticker GLW, up about 5.6% on the news. So headlines might create a lot of bearish sentiments, but like I mentioned, most of the popular AI companies that we follow already have made some form of announcements that they are investing in the United States. Now, there might be some smaller companies that I might not be remembering right now that could definitely be impacted. Like I mentioned, some of the South Korean memory companies could be seen as, let's actually see. I would assume SK Hynix, maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume SK Hynix might be down a little bit. So their market is just opening up. And yes, you can see kind of a little bit of a decrease before pulling back up. I'm guessing the market wasn't too excited about there. Samsung, like we saw, Apple was partnering up with them with their facility in the United States. So maybe Samsung can say, look, we're actually building in the United States. So the market might be a little bit excited about that. So very tricky. But like I mentioned, most popular semiconductor companies, I think, should be okay as long as, one, they can say they're buying from TSMC's plant here in the United States, and they continue to have a lot of research and development and jobs and and research facilities here in States as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick update. I do have a video coming in the next few days with NVIDIA. I feel like I haven't covered NVIDIA for a while, and it's kind of bugging me. But this next video is something you're not going to want to miss. So take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.